Leeds International School, Primary 5, First Midterm, English Language, Unit 1, The Hare and the Tortoise. Now let's turn to page number 6 in your pupil book. Let's start reading. Hare was a boastful creature. He was very proud of his sleek fur, long ears, and strong legs. He ran like the wind, and no one could beat him. Rabbit had tried, but could not beat him. Badger had tried, but could not beat him. Hare boasted that there was not an animal in the world that could run faster than he could. So, as you can see in the given GIF animation, the hare can run like the wind. Why do we say that he runs like the wind? Because he is as fast as the wind. Boastful creature. Boastful means, children, he talks a lot about himself. Sometimes we might come across these kind of people as well, who tells us, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this, I'm good in it. So they like to talk about themselves. They like to appreciate themselves. Those kind of personalities, we call it as a boastful person. And the hare was very proud of his sleek, soft, tender fur that he had, and the long ears and the strong legs that made him run like the wind. No one could beat him. The rabbit couldn't, the badger couldn't, and he was always boasting that not an animal in this world can run faster than he could. Tortoise was a very modest creature. He thought he was rather funny looking with his heavy shell, wrinkled skin, and small eyes. He was very slow. He had never raised hair. I have beaten every animal around here, boasted Hare. Well, said Tortoise, you have never beaten me. I am unbeaten. Now, this Tortoise, a very modest creature, he thought that he was looking rather funny with the heavy shell and the wrinkled skin and the small eyes. He was slow and he had never raised hair. And the hare was boasting that he had beaten every animal around here. The tortoise is a humble animal, and when he said that he has never been beaten by the hare looked at Tortoise in surprise. It was true, but Hare thought the idea of raising Tortoise was ridiculous. The hare was thinking raising this tortoise would be a silly idea. If I did race against you, said Hare, I would win easily. Maybe you would, said Tortoise. But until you have raced against me, you can't boast that you have beaten all the animals around here. So, what the tortoise says is true, since he hasn't raced against Tortoise and beaten him. He cannot say that, the hare cannot say that not an animal in the world can run faster than him. Right then, said Hare, I challenge you to a race. I accept, said Tortoise. The next day, all the creatures came to watch the race. Owl was the referee to ensure fair play. At the starting line, Hare was limbering up, shaking out his legs and taking long deep breaths. Tortoise was still and quiet and looked very calm. So, the very next day, all the creatures came to watch the race, and the owl was the referee. So you all must have seen a referee at a game. He is there to ensure fair play. He makes sure that all the players are fairly playing. Hare was limbering up. He bent down, shaking out, like you must have seen on TV how the athletes get ready for a race. Just like that, the hare got ready for the race. "Ready, steady, go!" shouted the owl. The hare ran at a tremendous speed and was almost out of sight before Tortoise had taken his first step. As you all know, Tortoise is a very slow animal, and before he had taken his first step, the hare has been out of sight. He couldn't be even seen. He was very fast. The animals cried, "Come on, Tortoise, run, run!" Tortoise smiled a little and walked on slowly. Hare was running very fast. He looked back over his shoulder, but Tortoise was nowhere in sight. "I don't have to run so fast," Hare said to himself. "I can take it easy. I think I shall sit down and have a little rest." So, since the tortoise was nowhere to be seen, the hare sat down under a tree and had a little rest. Hare stopped running and lay down under the shade of a huge tree. He was a little tired, so he closed his eyes. "I shall just have 5 minutes rest and then head for the finish line," he thought. Hare closed his eyes. It was very warm and peaceful, and soon Hare had nodded off. So after a while, what happened? The hare thought, I'll just have a 5 minutes rest and finish it. Since the weather was so nice, the hare slept. Tortoise kept walking slowly on. He didn't look to the right, he didn't look to the left. He looked straight ahead and kept on going. Eventually, he saw Hare asleep under a tree. He didn't stop. He just kept walking on. Hare suddenly woke up. "I didn't mean to go to sleep," he muttered. "Not to worry. I'll still get to the finish line before that slow tortoise." Now, the hare thought, "Okay, I slept, but I still have time to finish it off." Hare set off towards the finish line. As he ran round the last bend, he could see Tortoise up ahead almost at the finish line. "He is winning!" Hare cried. He put on a spurt and began closing in on Tortoise. Tortoise just kept carefully walking on. Rabbit cried, "He will win! He will win!" Tortoise had almost reached the finish line. Just a few more steps. Hare ran as fast as he could, but it was no use. Tortoise crossed the finish line. He had beaten Hare. All the animals cheered. So, you all must have heard of this story when you were very young. So let's revise this memory and continue with our comprehension work. Now, let's discuss the comprehension questions. Let's turn to page number 8 in your pupil book and read the questions. Which two characters had failed to beat Hare? So at the beginning I told you that the rabbit and the badger tried to fail the hare, but they could not. Number 2. Why did Tortoise think he was funny looking? As you can remember, the tortoise thought he was rather funny looking because of his heavy shell. How did Hare behave at the start of the race? You can turn to page number 6 in your textbook, pupil book, and read how he got ready for the race. Hare was limbering up, shaking out his legs, and taking long, deep breaths. That's how he got ready. Then number 4 says, why did Hare think he had time to sit down and have a little rest? If you can remember, at the very beginning, the hare was almost out of sight before Tortoise had taken his first step. And he was not to be seen anywhere near. That's why he decided to have a small nap. What did Tortoise continue to do when he saw Hare asleep under a tree? When he saw Hare asleep under a tree, he didn't stop. He just kept walking on. Number 6. Who won the race? So, you all know who won the race. Now, let's move on to the Comprehension B part. You have to write sentences to answer the questions. Number 1. Explain in your own words the difference between someone who is boastful and someone who is modest. So, as I've been explaining during the lesson, boastful means always saying how good they are. The hare was always telling how good he was. Modest means does not talk about yourself. Humble. He does not boast. Question number 2. Why did Hare think the idea of racing against Tortoise was ridiculous? Why did the hare think that it was a ridiculous idea? Because he thought that he could win easily. Number 3. Explain in your own words what Owl's job was. Owl's job was to make sure that the players were playing fairly. He was the referee in the race. How do you know the other animals wanted Tortoise to win? The animals all wanted Tortoise to win, and that's why they said they were cheering up Tortoise, saying, "Come on, Tortoise, run, run." Number 5. During the race, how do you know that Hare was confident he was going to win? How did he know that he was going to win? Because Tortoise was not to be seen closer to the hare. If you could be friends with either Tortoise or Hare, which would you choose and why? So that depends on you. You may choose which animal would be your friend. Now let's look at the lesson, Prefixes. You may find this lesson in page number 4 in your workbook and page number 8, 9 in your pupil book. A prefix is a letter or a set of letters that are added at the beginning of a word. Sometimes it creates the opposite of the word. Happy, when you add un before happy, it becomes unhappy. Now let's look at some prefixes. Prefix un. Words beginning with the prefix un. Unequal, unlikely, unforeseen, undressed, unpredictable, unprofessional, unpopular. Prefix words with miss. Misguide, mishap, mishear, misheard, misinform, misjudge. And words with prefix ir. Irrational, irretrievable, irrelevant, irresponsible, irregular, and so forth. And words with prefix im. Imperfect, impossible, immature, immobile, and improper. So there are many more other words which will be beginning with the given prefixes, and according to the word, different prefixes are added, and if you are a good reader, you may be very well aware of these prefixes. Prefix in and prefix dis. Words beginning with prefix in. Inaccurate, incapable, inadequate, injustice, indecent, inoffensive, incomplete. Prefix dis. Disrespect, displease, discomfort, displace, dispossess, disorder, disapprove. To page number 10 in your pupil book and page number 4 in the workbook. Direct speech. Direct speech are words that are spoken by someone. Now when you read storybooks, you may have noticed these direct speech marks. Speech marks. We call them as speech marks. Speech marks are used before and after words that are spoken by someone. I didn't mean to go to sleep, he muttered. What did he mutter? I didn't mean to go to sleep. So before we start what is being said by him, we use the speech mark. They look like double six, a small dot at the end and a small line on top. And how did he end his sentence? The last word is sleep. So we use the ending speech marks after the full stop. Rabbit cried, he will win, he will win. What did the rabbit cry? He will win, he will win. So before we start, at the beginning, before we start what is being said by the rabbit, we use the speech marks, and at the end after the exclamation mark. Well, said Tortoise, you have never beaten me. What did the tortoise say? Well, and you have never beaten me. Now in this kind of situations, children, we must use two sets of speech marks. Let's see how we do that. We use speech marks before the word well because that is said by the tortoise. After the word well, after the comma that is being used. Before we use you, and after the word me and the full stop. So likewise, you have to add the missing punctuation marks in punctuation A part and B part, and as well as the workbook punctuation work as well. Now let's look at suffixes. Let's turn to page number 11 in your pupil book. Suffix is a letter or a set of letters added at the end of a word. So, in the previous slides, we learned about prefixes. Prefix is a letter or a set of letters added at the beginning of a word, and suffixes are added at the end of a word. There are certain rules in suffixes. Drop the E if the suffix begins with a vowel or is a Y. Take. The word take ends with an E. So when we use the word take in a sentence, we cut off the E and then add the suffix. When you say Hare was taking long deep breaths, taking ing is added after cutting off the letter E. Keep the E if the suffix begins with a consonant. When you say care, Tortoise just kept carefully walking on. Carefully, fully is the suffix that we are going to add here. And since the word F is a consonant, we do not cut off the E, we just leave it off and add the suffix. Grammar verb tenses in Pupil book, page number 12. When verbs are actions or doing words, the tense of a verb tells us when the action happens. So, if the action happens in the present, if we are doing it now, we use present tense. Let's first focus on simple present tense. Simple present tense verbs for he, she, it and singular nouns. If our verb is singular only, we add SOES or IES at the end of a verb. If our subject, the person who is doing the action, is plural, we do not add any SES, IES endings at the end of a verb. Most of the verbs are added S. Example, live, lives. He lives in Sri Lanka. Sita sits next to me. The pig stays in the pen. If the verb is ending in consonant plus Y, change the Y to I and add ES. So, if you have forgotten what are consonants, consonants and vowels together make the alphabet. The vowels are A, E, I, O, U. So, the rest of the alphabet letters are called as consonants. So, if there is a consonant before the last Y, then we have to cut off the Y and add IES. Example, try become tries. Mother tries to persuade me to eat a lot. Carry become carries. Brother carries a heavy bag. If the verb is ending in S, Z, CH or XO, we add ES at the end of a verb. Example, miss become misses. He misses the bus. Buzz become buzzes. The bee buzzes at my ear. Catch catches. He catches the ball. Fix fixes. The plumber fixes the tap. Exceptions are go, do. They are also added ES even if they do not follow the rule. He goes to school, she does homework, etc. Look at present continuous tense. Present continuous tense is used when we are talking about the actions that are happening now. For example, you are watching this video right now. Grandmother is sleeping. I am talking. So, if your subject or the person who is doing the action is I, then we have to use the helping verb am, and you have to add ing to your verb. For example, I am drawing, I am speaking, I am listening. If the subject, the person who is doing the action, is he, she, or it, then you have to use the helping verb be before the verb, with the verb ending with ing. For example, she is eating, he is combing his hair, it is wagging its tail, likewise. And if the subject is you, we, or they, we say plural nouns, then we should use are as the helping verb. For example, you are listening to the video. We are learning a lesson. They are watching the cartoons. Present perfect tense. Present perfect tense uses has and have as helping verbs. I, you, they, we all use the helping verb have, and she, he, it, and all the rest of the singular nouns use the helping verb has. Let's look at some examples. I have decided to watch TV. You have finished homework. They have lost their new car. We have chosen him as the president. She has gone home. He has finished homework. It has gone into the wild. Simple past tense. Simple past tense is used, children, when we are talking about the actions that have happened earlier. Let's look at the examples. If the verb is ending in E, then we simply add D at the end. Example, he lived. They stared at me. And if the verb is ending in Y and a vowel letter, we add ED to it. Example, we played hockey. They stayed in Europe. If the verb is ending in a consonant and a Y letter, then we change the Y to I and add ED. For example, I tried to do the corrections. He carried a box. Since the word try and carry both ends with a Y letter and with a consonant letter before the Y, we cut off the Y's and add IED. One syllable, single vowel and end in single consonant, you have to double the last letter and then add ED. One syllable is, children, now when you say nod, there's only one vowel sound. N order, nod, no, O. O is the only syllable that we get. So because of that, we should double the last letter and then add ED. Nodded. The rabbit nodded off. Rib become ribbed. He ribbed off the peel. And if there are two syllables, the stress on second syllable and ending in single consonant, double the final consonant and add ED. If there are two syllables, stress on the second syllable and ending with a single consonant, we better double the last letter and then add ED. Tense. How do we form a past perfect tense sentence? We have to use had as the helping verb and the past participle of the verb. Past participle verb of the form of the verb, or else the past tense of the verb. So, past perfect tense is used before another action that happens in past. For example, I noticed that he had left his books behind. And if you notice, had is being used as the helping verb here. Left is the past tense verb. So now, if you turn to page number 12 in the pupil book and page number 6 in your workbook, you will notice that you have been given sentences to write in simple present tense, past simple, present perfect and past perfect tense. So, in the C part they have given you past perfect tense sentences. The sentences should be turned into past perfect, and they have given you the past sentence, so we simply have to add has and have if it is present perfect and had if it is past perfect. For example, Hare boasted to everyone becomes Hare has boasted to everyone in present perfect, and Hare had boasted to everyone in past perfect. Past continuous tense. Past continuous is actions that we have been doing in the past. If our subject, the person who is doing the action, is singular, then we use the helping verb was, and if the subject, the person who is doing the action, is plural, then we use the helping verb were. For example, I was going home, you were doing homework, she was playing football, he was fighting with his sister, and it was playing with a ball. You were fighting, we were reading books, they were playing cricket. So, it is as same as the present continuous tense, except the fact that we should be adding was over as the helping verbs. Tense. Future tense is used when we refer to the sentences when we talk about actions that we are going to do in the future. We and they use the helping verb shall. Other than that, all the other verbs we use the helping verb will. I will help you, they will help you, we shall go home, I shall complete the homework. Likewise, we form sentences. Describing characters. When we create characters in stories, for example, the Hare and the Tortoise story, they had been describing characters to give the idea to the reader. So, when we are describing characters, we should mention how they look like and their personalities. Appearance. For example, the Hare had sleek fur, long ears and strong legs. So that gives the clear idea to the person who is reading, and it makes it easier to understand what sort of a character is it. And the personality. The Hare was a boastful creature. The character quality boastful gives us the idea that he talks about himself a lot. And when you're going to write description of characters, you have to give the appearance and the personality descriptions for the reader to understand and to give a clearer picture about your story. Now let's move on to the writing activity in page number 7 in the workbook. For example, if it is the owl's character that you're going to describe, you can write words and phrases that describe what your character looks like. The owl is a wise animal, and you can use and phrases to describe what the character's personality is. Owl has been chosen by the other animals to make sure that no one cheats in a race. What sort of character do you think he is? So he is a fair character. That's why he's being selected as the referee. So likewise, you can complete the writing activity, and that was the end of our lesson.